that your evidence in relation to certain matters would be limited. And I'd just like to take you to paragraph 7.1 of your statement so that you could maybe just read that and explain in relation to the manner in which your evidence is drafted, why that is so, and why you're not in a position to put everything in your statement. It's in paragraph 7.1 of your statement.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members. On paragraph 7 of my statement, I am declaring that the evidence which I will present is the one that I'm legally permitted to share in a public space, and also the fact that there is considerably more evidence at my disposal that I'm not legally permitted to share in a public space because it will expose some of our covert intelligence methodologies, and also it will prejudice the against the ongoing investigations.
I think we can now proceed to paragraph 92, where we will request you to briefly describe your...
Just a moment, Advocate Mkhwaizi, Honorable Sangweni.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think before we proceed on this point, I don't know whether we're looking for assurance from the evidence leaders, Chair, or the witness on the implication of this disclosure on the work of the committee. At this point in time, we have no sense of what sort of information is not being shared with us, and we wouldn't want a situation where we're glossing over issues and it's a whitewash. So, given the terms of reference which the General would have been acquainted with, the information that you are withholding, can I get a sense of how pertinent it is to Parliament getting to proper conclusions? I really don't want a situation here where we sit here and we listen to superficial things and our report at the end of the day is superficial. Thank you, General. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. The evidence that is contained in my affidavit, as well as the annexures, according to our view, will be enough to meet the standard in terms of reference, but also highlighting the disclaimer on the point number 7, that as and when it happens that there is information that can now be shared because the investigation is ongoing, so it can continuously be shared again with the committee.
Sorry, Chairperson. Chair, when we were setting out the terms of reference, we had part of our discussions spoken about the fact that we may need to hold certain hearings in camera. To date, we have not utilized that particular requirement that we have put. Now, I'm not saying that the information that the General says he can legally share is necessarily befitting an in-camera sitting, because if it's intelligence information or whatever that he feels, he would not even disclose in that set. But I truly worry. This is not the first witness who comes here and then they say, no, they can't speak about certain things. And I think at some point it's necessary for this ad hoc committee to really consider whether we wouldn't want to have, even if it's a special session where we have an in-camera hearing, General, you may not need to go into the detail. We don't want to know that Honorable Nduli did this and this and this, but we need detail of what the issues are that are being kept from us. There are issues that we know belong in the JSCI, which is fine. We are not cleared. We don't have the security clearance for that, some of us. But there are issues that we should know, because otherwise, as I was saying, this becomes a whitewash. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We can still assure the committee that part of the information that we might not be in a position to share is the one that talks to covert intelligence methodologies. And then in terms of the investigation, it's only the part that is not finalized yet. But then in terms of the whole scenario, the information that we had packaged and annexed, we can share.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so we will then proceed to paragraph 92 of your statement, General Khumalo. I know during consultation you've indicated that before you take us through the evidence, you'd just like to give a brief description of what Gauteng counterintelligence operation was about and how it subsequently led to the discovery of the infiltration. So if you could just start off by giving a brief description of Gauteng counterintelligence operation that was undertaken.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. On paragraph 92, I'm indicating that the infiltration of criminals of the criminal justice system became quite clear to me through my work as head of crime intelligence, not as a project leader of PKTT. There was an operation or investigation conducted by Gauteng Organized Crime Unit, which was a normal investigation of a murder of Mr. Aman Swart, an engineer in Vereeniging, and we were not aware of that investigation. It was just their investigation. But then, because of if I go to next page, paragraph 96, where we are reflecting on the letter that was written by the senior state prosecutor addressed to the provincial commissioner of Gauteng, the deputy provincial commissioner, as well as the deputy national commissioner and the national commissioner. On that letter, the prosecutor was highlighting the threats that the investigation itself, as well as the investigating officers, were facing, mainly because initially it was mainly because one of the accused was a former warrant officer in the SAPS, and who was identified as an organizer of hits within this organized crime syndicate. And then the prosecutor went on to explain the other challenges other than the threats against the investigating officers. In paragraph 100, the prosecutor is raising the issue of the ballistic report, which was excluded whilst it contains crucial information that linked the suspects to a firearm that was used in the murder of Mr. Swart, which is another threat now to the investigation itself, to the evidence. In paragraph 101, we are indicating as to what the prosecutor said in terms of that ballistic report, that the forensic analyst failed to link the AK-47 cartridge cases with the murder weapon that they were found in possession. So meaning that if that intervention was not done, the accused were only going to be charged for possession of unlicensed firearm, not the killing itself, because there was that suspicious failure of linking the firearm with the killing by the ballistic expert. And then the prosecutor also raised the issue of officials within SAPS that were directly and indirectly involved in the efforts to destabilize the investigation. These are the concerns that are shared by the senior state prosecutor who's prosecuting the case, sharing it with the national commissioner and the provincial commissioner. That talks to the incomplete ballistic report, the interference, the issuing or warning and threatening the members. So the members that were investigating were threatened by their own seniors. And then that resulted in that concern or letter then given to our provincial head, Crime Intelligence, Gauteng, to conduct a threat and risk assessment, which is part of our mandate against the investigating officers and the investigation, to find out as to how true are these concerns raised by the prosecutor. And then upon the finalization of the threat and risk assessment, and then the provincial head deemed it necessary to appraise me on that particular threat and risk assessment, as well as his recommendations. And then from my side, upon assessing the recommendations and the draft threat and risk assessment, I then briefed the National Commissioner and thereafter took a decision to register a counterintelligence project, of which I did that on the 29th of August. The letter by the prosecutor was dated the 5th of August. So after 2 to 3 weeks of the detailed threat and risk assessment, and then when it was presented to me, I then took that decision based on the level of threats. So as then we are able, because it's one of our mandates as crime intelligence to implement counterintelligence measures, whether proactively or reactively, to protect police SAPS operations as well as its personnel. The heading itself, it's long: events leading to Gauteng counterintelligence operations and further evidence of infiltration. But for ease of reference, I term it the beginning of PKTT and General Khumalo's problems. I was invited to this problem by that threat and risk assessment and the decision that I took, which then meant that we had to marry the Gauteng organized crime investigation with our counterintelligence investigation into one operation, which then gave birth to Gauteng counterintelligence investigation, the GCI ops, because it was the combination now of both the investigation as well as counter intelligence measures or investigations. Then some of the measures that were put in place was to deploy our counterintelligence resources within the team and also the counterintelligence operatives. That was because of, firstly, the level of SAPS officials that were involved in this threat. It was evident to me then that, as it's normally the case, once you conduct a threat and risk assessment, you come up with recommendations. There must be a plan put in place to neutralize or to deal with that threat so as it does not become permanent. Hence, then one realized that for this particular operation, one will need the assistance from the highly specialized team to ensure that the investigation will be advanced swiftly as well as safely. That is when then I took the second decision to discuss with the Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal the possibility of then getting assistance, temporal assistance from the PKTT. Hence, then I termed this as the beginning of my problems with those two decisions and the problems that the PKTT concept or name, how was it dragged into this problem? And then in response then to that request, then we agreed with the Provincial Commissioner for us to get around about 10 members to be seconded to the GCI ops in order to conduct that swift operation to neutralize the threat. The point that maybe I must stress on paragraph 106, the last sentence that says, although these 10 PKTT members worked on the dockets were not transferred to PKTT. They came to assist for a short period, so as then the threat is neutralized as quickly as possible. Then on the members, 10 members that you requested, I felt it important to include them in my paragraph 107 because they came on board on the 19th of November, 2024. I felt it important to list them so as one can continue demonstrating the methodology that is employed in the PKTT. Out of 10 members of PKTT that were requested, there is only one investigating officer. The rest, which is 9, are different experts because we needed that expertism so as then we are able to swiftly deal with the problem from the ballistic analyst as the honorable committee will recall, one of the issues raised by the senior state prosecutor was the ballistic report. So we had to include the ballistic analyst, the forensic digital analyst, the case of Vereeniging Amanswart had a lot of digital forensic work that needed to be done. The call data analyst, the crime scene investigators, 3 of them, because the crime scene of Amanswart was divided into 3 crime scenes. The first scene number 1 was where he was shot. Scene number 2 was where the first vehicle was intercepted. Scene number 3 was where the other vehicle and firearms were found in a particular house. So we had to get those 3 crime scene investigators, and then we had to get an operational analyst and the commander who understands the PKTT methodology, as well as the designated firearm officer who was going to work on also the firearms together with the ballistic analyst. And then, as I've indicated, with 1 investigating officer. From paragraph 108 to 109, maybe read with 107, 1 is demonstrating the swiftness. The team of experts comes in on the 19th. By the 5th of December, they are in a position, I can safely say they had identified the whole cartel, and they were in a position to start the first takedown operation. That is within the space of 3 weeks. Then on paragraph 109, 1 is introducing then the second assistance. To put it practically clear, the experts came to assist only for between 2 to 3 weeks, and they withdrew because most of the analysis work was done. So the team, the GCI Ops, was now ready to start with takedown operations. Then for the first takedown operation on the 6th of December, we had to request again the expertise, different expertise now from PKTT in the form of combat members as well as special task force for that particular takedown, which was divided into 2. The first one was to conduct, to effect an arrest on Katiso Molefe, as well as the questioning of Vusimuzi Matlala regarding the parallel case, which was and still kidnapping. So that is the second support that the PKTT gave to the GCI Ops. It was a 1-day operation when the combat teams had to come in. The reason for that, during the analysis and the threat and risk assessment, it had come out that almost the whole of SAPS in Gauteng is working for the cartel. So hence then we had to get the combat team even from the PKTT, and even the special task force that we used for that operation was not from Gauteng province, but was from outside Gauteng province. That is the operation of the 6th. So the PKTT suffered and is still suffering for that assistance of 2.5 weeks and 1 day, which raised a wrong impression that PKTT is investigating the cartel. PKTT
just,
came in to assist.
Just a moment, General, Honorable James.
Thank you, Chair. I almost fell off my chair now. Did I hear the general correctly when he said an analysis was done and you found that almost the entire Gauteng SAPS was working for the cartel? Just clarify that statement, please.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We say that because whatever that we were doing in now this covert operation will find its way to the very same cartel. That is from the resources. I think even the vehicles were all over the social media. The vehicles with registration plates that were used by the team. So as the team is working, they are going to courts and to police stations. So where they are, and then they are, then whatever that they are doing is given to the cartel members. We had collected a lot of information and identified a lot of members from within. Maybe let me make an example of the uniform combat teams. There is this, what is happening in Gauteng, where the highly trained combat members of SAPS are moonlighting for the cartels. In other words, working outside their working hours. It happened to the team, I think, on 2 occasions when they are moving with the combat teams from Gauteng. They get to a cartel member, and then the member will ask, "Hey, what are you doing here? Because you were with me last weekend, working for me." So that will be my answer.
Thank you, Chair. I'll get into it when it's question time. Thanks.
General Khumalo, and just further on that, speaking about the moonlighting.
Let's switch off the microphones. Honorable James. Honorable James, look at me at the same time. Let's.
General Khumalo, just from what the question that Honorable James was asking, you mentioned specifically in your statement that when you arrived at Mr. Malifi's residence, you note that he was identified as a suspect, and when you arrived at his residence, you say in paragraph 111, on 6 December, the investigative team, including members of the PKTT, proceeded to the residence of Mr. Malifi in an attempt to locate and engage with him. And during the operation, the following suspicious interventions took place. And you proceed to describe certain events that happened at the residence of Mr. Malifi. Could you just briefly explain to us, as you take us through those events, what your perception was of the presence of these members of the Hawks, as you described, and the Metro Police when you arrived at Mr. Ket Malifi's house?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. On paragraph 111, 1 and 2, I'm introducing the happenings or the events of the 6th of July, of December, during that 2-in-1 operation, maybe also to back up the point that I tried to raise when Honorable James asked the question. With PKTT, I've heard some people trying to associate us with being violent. that one I can assure the committee were the most professional team. Each and every operation is planned thoroughly. So when then we were at the initial phase, which is the surveillance phase of the operation, that is when then we came across a JMPD officer who is part-time working for, according to our information, for Katiso Mulife, Officer Johnny Mokhatle, who was then dispatched by Mulife to come and check this suspicious car, our surveillance car. That was that was part of our phase 1 operation, which is surveillance and monitoring. I'm introducing the second incident during the course of the search. Now, I'm still going to maybe go into details in terms of the JMPD officer. But then during the course of the search, a helicopter was then dispatched to hover on top of the house where the members were working and monitoring, and it was dispatched from the law enforcement again. It's normally dispatched then through the JMPD when or if they are CIT incidents or any other. So that was the second encounter that the team had to deal with. Before then, 2 groups from DPCI arrived at different times to the scene of crime, to the scene where members then were effecting just the arrest. Then maybe then as I approach the interference by the Hawks specifically, I will then give a short narrative as to what happened. Firstly, the first group, maybe before I get to the first group, let me remind the committee that although I touched on it, but it's still coming where, because JMPD officer have got the systems in his phone, can circulate, track, and do whatever the vehicle. So he gave feedback. Okay, he came into Kadisomlifi's house, took him out, driving in a JMPD official vehicle to go and look for this suspicious vehicle. And then he did confirm that this is an SAPS vehicle. So I'm citing that Kadisomlif was aware well in advance that there will be a police operation in his house. And then as then the operation starts, that's when then the first group from DPCI is dispatched by their generals to come and check what's happening.
I don't want to interrupt, but maybe just on the Metro Police that you've mentioned, I'm not sure if it is clear what you are saying in relation to the involvement and participation. And I'm trying to get to the extent of the participation of the Metro Police. Were they interfering? What did their presence represent in relation to the arrest that was affected? I think we get an explanation that you found these officers there, but I'm trying to understand, were they trying to interfere and prevent the operations from unfolding? Is that what we-
Maybe then through you, Honorable Chair, because the first paragraphs I was introducing the 2 types of interferences. Then my next paragraph talks to the interference by the Hawks. And then the next one from paragraph 1 to 2 talks to the interference by JMPD. That's where I was going to be detailed when it comes to. So the first part I was just introducing those. As I indicated, that was the beginning of the problems of PKTT and Khumalo. And the most important dates of December that we treasure and we make sure that in our diaries they are circled is the 6th of December as well as the 31st of December. That is Khumalo and the PKTT when their problems started. It was the most difficult takedown operation. So maybe to go back to the support, the only reason why that operation was a success is because of the decision to request the combat teams of PKTT to come and assist on that one-day operation. Because if we did not do that, up until today, Katisomlifu was not going to have been arrested. Because one could realize that the local resources will not stand this pressure, or everything that was happening on the 6th. Then summarizing the interference by the Hawks, I'll try to summarize it such that the honorable committee is not confused. There was the first group led by Captain Kruger that came and wanted to know what's happening, and then I emphasize the professionalism of PKTT, but the professionalism, it includes also the mental strength and fearlessness, because no matter how hard you try to introduce yourself as a VVIP, but you won't be able to do what you want to do. So then there was an engagement with Captain Kruger's team. He then also dropped the name of Brigadier Mukwena from DPCI. And after that, the name of a divisional commissioner, Lieutenant General Mboto, as well as the national head himself, as people that had sent them to come and inquire as to what's happening in Katisomlife's premises. And then the team, DPCI team, was informed that it's a police operation, and then there is nothing wrong. But then they remained there in the site for a long time. But one can safely say then they could not achieve whatever then the objective that might be there. Then the second team of TOMS is a tactical operations management section, like tactical teams, combat team of DPCI. The second team also came, and the same thing happened. They could not then successfully interfere with the operation. We can still call it an attempt. And then the situation was contained up until then the arrest was effected. And we are indicating that there was also another team from DPCI that came then led by Captain Norkie, sent by the provincial head of DPCI also to the, so it was now more DPCI than GCI ops that are conducting their their lawful operation. From our side, we are still convinced that it was an interference with the operation, with the lawful operation. And if we are in a situation where the lieutenant generals are the SOSs of suspects or criminals that police officers are dealing with, then we might have a real problem, especially looking at the DPCI level. Then the interference, to finalize the interference from the JMPD, as I've introduced it, and we have, with all these people that I've mentioned, we have statements under oath affidavits that are annexed. Also, with regard to the JMPD officer, we have an affidavit as well as his commanders and the principal's affidavits that he confirmed that he has a long relationship with Mr. Molefe and Mr. Tau. Mr. Tau is one of the hitmen that are used by the cartel to eliminate people. And then he indicated that he is frequently requested by Mr. Molefe to register his vehicles, and then in turn, then he gets a 500 rand per vehicle. And on the day of Mr. Molefe's arrest, this JMPD officer stated that he reported on duty, but left due to ill health, like reporting that he's not feeling well. And he went home, according to the supervisors and himself, initially. And then he says, following the reporting sick, he received a call from Molefe regarding a suspicious vehicle, the story that I've summarized. And then he came, he collected Molefe in a service vehicle, JMPD, to go and investigate now and look for this car. They drove past and then returned Molefe back to his residence. After conducting that search and the plate and the tracking, he then gave the report to Mr. Molefe that that was a vehicle belonging to SAPS. So Mr. Molefe was aware well in advance that there will be an operation on that day soon. And then on paragraph 124, that's what will happen then when you try to make sense of what is not making sense. In his own affidavit is indicating that after giving feedback to Mr. Molefe, he resumed his regular patrol duties, forgetting that initially he had said he reported sick when he left his employment. His statement is attached as SDK 12.
Thank you,
Where
Chair.
is this official, General? The official that you make reference to in that paragraph?
The last time we checked, because we are continuing with our interference or obstruction case investigation, the last time we heard that he was suspended or removed from the station where he was working, where it was possible for him to work for the cartel in terms of utilizing the police systems as well as being the advanced team. That is, there is somewhere where I spoke of the importance of having the criminal justice system within the cartel, that you are in an advantageous space because you are informed in advance. the police operation that is coming. No matter how discreet our operation of the 6th was, but when I get to the second part, I'll reflect again as to when the team got there. They were told and shown evidence that we know where you were staging, and I was expecting you here, and I was told by warrant officer so and so. So in Gauteng, no matter how discreet you want to be, and then it is nearly impossible.
Honorable Sangon.
Sorry, General, it's just clarity. So all of these events on the 6th are prompted by one lone surveillance vehicle that Mr. Molefe sees out of his house. And secondly, to the best of your knowledge, this man was not under investigation by DCPI. And finally, the operation happens the same day, so he's arrested and they're still there while you are carrying out the operation to arrest him.
Yes, according to our information, there was no investigation by DPCI, but then the teams stayed there for as much as possible until one will think that until then they realize that the team is done now with the search and they are moving with him, taking him to the sites.
Honorable Sokanye.
Mr. Tau, what happened to him, the hitman used by the cartels, who was with Mr. Molefe?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Tau, a warrant officer, a detective in Johannesburg Central Police Station, was arrested as one of the hitmen that killed Aman Swart, and he got bail. So when the SPP was sharing her concerns, was when Tau was on bail, and then that's when then the threat levels increased against the investigating officers because they are colleagues, they are working in the same place.
Honorable Ngola.
Just a quick one, Chair. Did the state oppose the bail of Mr. Tau in the bail proceedings?
Thank you, Chair. The state did oppose the bail successfully so. And Mr. Tau, warrant officer by then, was then remanded in custody. But then mysteriously, he appealed for that bail, and also that is when then the senior officers will approach, senior officers now in Gauteng will approach these investigating officers to say you must not oppose the bail appeal of Tau, such that before the appeal day, they were told that he's going to get out. They went there, they opposed bail, but they failed. But the writing was on the wall that everything is arranged. And then, unfortunately, the senior officers came back to thank the members for not opposing bail, thinking that it's because of that. But then that was the time when then we came on board, and then we were starting now to be the GCI ops, and then we managed then to implement counterintelligence measures that resulted in him being taken back to custody. So he's back into custody, but then departmentally, he only resigned a few days before we rearrested him, and then he resigned.
Honorable Matthys.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question of clarity. Lieutenant General Khumalo, you say everything was arranged. What do you mean that everything, you said that everything was arranged in terms of the bail, when he appealed the bail application. So who was involved in arranging? Because General, we really need names, otherwise we're just talking in the air and we're just sitting here and it's going to be like you're giving us a lecture on what's going on behind the scenes, but we do need names. So you said everything was arranged when he was appealing bail and it was a known thing that he was going to get it. So speak to us about how it was arranged and according to you, who was involved in that? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. It started with the request via, there is a member, I might not have particulars here, but there is a member who was part of the team who was then sent to talk to the team that there is this request that you guys don't oppose bail. The arrangement came from a senior officer, a brigadier, a general, Shibiri, who is the head of organized crime at head office, who called the members and told them that whilst they are preparing for bail opposition, that there are 3 envelopes that are in place. One is for you detectives, one is for a prosecutor, one is for the magistrate. So for that bail to be, so we have sworn affidavits to that, if I can mention some few names narrating the pre-arrangement of that bail. And it was indeed successful, besides the opposition that was put at court.
I see Honorable James, Honorable Malema.
Thank you, Chair. Shibiri, is he the same person that we heard previously that works closely with General Sibia?
Yes, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, he is working, as I've said, as head of organized crime at national office under General Sibia's office.
Thank you.
Thank you, General. Why is Shibiri not arrested? Because if you've got that evidence of Shibiri interfering and defeating the end of justice, why is he not arrested? Because this doesn't need us. It doesn't need a commission. When a person commits a crime, must be arrested there and there. You've got affidavits, it's clear. Why is he not arrested?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. As I've indicated, the investigation with regard to the interference from this SAPS side is at the advanced stage, and then including the names that I've mentioned from DPCI and JMPD. So the investigation is almost finalized.
The South African public wants to know the people who do this investigation, the authorities that are being reported to, do they have this information? Okay, or maybe to put the question different, is Shibiri on suspension?
Currently, according to my information, he was moved out of the organized crime environment. I'll have to check if then the suspension process has been finalized.
You are not sure if he's on suspension or not?
I'm not sure.
But this information that you present before this committee, the authorities of the SAPS know it is at their disposal.
That is positive, Honorable Chair.
Maybe what we should do, honorable members, is to write to the head of the SAPS and request for information on this matter. Honorable Malim.
Yeah, not information, Chair. An explanation, why is she be loitering in the offices of the police? Because it doesn't belong there. If there are serious issues of this nature, the disciplinary matters should have kicked in immediately, and then the criminal process should also be at an advanced stage. So the general says the investigation is at an advanced stage. We understand that language. We need to know internally what is happening. Is he still there? And if he's there, why? What are the reasons?
Okay. Can I check members agreed? Thank you so much. So we will write to them, and when the committee meets on Monday, I just hope we should be having the response of the SAPS on this matter. Advocate Mkhwaitsi, may we please proceed?
Sorry, General, is there something else that you'd like to add in relation to the infiltration?
Maybe rounding off, I must mention one of the coincidents on the 6th on both operations. The first one in Katisomlefi's house, the team was approached by the driver, who then asked the team, and we have an affidavit also to that effect, indicating that is the team aware that Kadisomleaf is a friend of the minister as they are arresting him. Now, on the afternoon's operation, when the team now is at Kat Matlala's house, he also indicates that they are messing up his plan or schedule, because he was supposed to be meeting the minister at that time. So that is another coincidence of the 6th on two different operations.
I think that takes us then through to the events leading up to the disbandment, because in under that particular topic, you speak about the raid that you conducted on the 6th of December at Mr. Matlala's residence. And you indicate in paragraph 127 of your statement that a second operation was implemented on the 6th of December 2024, which relates to the kidnapping of Jerry Bushocha. Now, if you could just briefly take us through what happened at the residence of Mr. Ket Matlala, and just briefly explain whether you have managed to, what you discovered while you were visiting the residence of Mr. Matlala.
Thank you. As I indicated earlier on, that it was two operations in one on the same day. We were conducting the lawful search without a warrant, based on the information that we were having, which was on the verge then of disappearing if we did not act. But be as it may, hence the team from the special task force that we had to rope in from another province was for that particular operation, because we know and we knew that around Mr. Matlala, there are special forces and special task force former members that are there. So because it was then a surprise search operation, we had then to get the proper capabilities. And then indeed that operation was conducted in the afternoon of the same day. It was with regards to the case of kidnapping of Jerry Bushoka that the team was investigating, and then with the view of getting evidence that the team had confirmed that it's there. But it's one of the incidents that I've mentioned that when the team got there, they were then informed that the Mr. Matlala was waiting for them. He is aware as to where and what time they were preparing to advance to the house. Hence, then the operation was not as successful as it was expected to be. And then moving on to paragraph 129. During that operation, then it was established that Mr. Matlala was not in compliance with the Firearms Control Act. Hence, then the inquiry was registered, and then 4 of his firearms as well as 5 cell phones were confiscated. Then under that Brooklyn inquiry 1 of 12, 2024. So as then the investigation could continue. I've already touched on the first coincident of the minister's name being dropped in both operations. And then another coincident on the same day, on the 6th of December. At the time when these 2 operations were ongoing, this is the time Advocate Johnson sent a formal email to both Divisional Commissioner of Detectives as well as the Deputy Provincial Commissioner of Detectives in Gauteng, requesting access to the dockets that had been reported by the Member of Parliament, Mr. Fadel Adams, against me, the executive of crime intelligence, that is responsible for GCI ops. The dockets were requested as a matter of agency on that day, the 6th of December, when the operation was on. That is attached then as Annexure SDK 13. That agent request of those dockets. Hence, then, as I said, when I started the discussion under this paragraph, that the December, especially the 6th, was the beginning of the problems of PKTT and Khumalo. That ran up until now, because there are lots of coincidences that are very difficult to associate them with something else other than the protection of who we started to deal with on the same day, the 6th of December.
Just on that, General Khumalo, before you move on from that paragraph 130, where you refer to the letter by IDEC, which we can see on page 120 of the big bundle.
Yeah, just before you respond, General, let's take Honorable Malema.
General, what's happening to the case of Jerry Bushoka? Because it has been going on, and it creates a very bad image of you and the crime intelligence and the police. That we can't find one man, the whole police system can't find one man who has been missing, identifiable businessman. Can you imagine if a villager that looks after goats disappears? it will be worse than what we are experiencing now. What's happening to that case? Because you touched on it before.
Right. Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. The case is under investigation, but it has been having those challenges. During that time, the team was working on that case as instructed by the National Commission. But soon after that operation, that case was reallocated by the Deputy National Commissioner, Janice Bia, to another team. So up until recently, when then the National Commissioner has directed that the team must resume the investigation of the same case.
Which team, the first one or the severe one? They directed which team to resume the investigation?
The team that conducted an operation on the 6th, the case was taken away from them soon after that operation, until recently, when the National Commissioner has directed that the team must be reassigned that case. So the team has started now to continue with the investigation that they were at the advanced stage in December 2024.
And Honorable Malo, can I check? I see there is a flurry of hands. Honorable Matthews, Honorable Ngola, Honorable Sangoni, Chief Whip, Honorable Skosana Bangazita. Let's take the hands in that order.
Mine is just before we move back. We were talking about the raid at Matlala's place. When he was before us, he said that the team, okay, I wouldn't use the word abuse, but the children were not moved in a safe place and neither was his wife. Can you speak to that? Like what precautions were taken to ensure, I mean, the kids are small, the wife was not necessarily involved, and he painted a horrible picture of what the team did when they did the race. So if you could clarify that for us, please, General.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. I can confirm I touched on professionalism that we instilled in the team in dealing with whether you are a suspect or you are a witness. We are always very professional, and the team confirmed that the operation in Matlala's house was conducted in a normal, professional way that we normally conduct operations. Maybe some of the evidence will come as I continue when there were attempts to open cases against the team, and the wife did not buy the story of writing that statement. But I'm going to touch on that. But our procedure is simple. Each and every operation, there is a commander that is in charge. Everybody is acting under the command of that commander. If there are minor children, is the commander who takes care, him or herself, of minors, as well as if we have confirmed that there are also females within the target, that there are females that are going to take care of the females. And normally the team won't deal with a person that they are not there for.
Honorable, okay, Honorable Matthews, are you satisfied? Honorable Ngola.
Thank you very much, Chair. General, let's go back to Honorable Malema's question. I think I missed you on what distracted the first team for the second team to be appointed. Where was the first team extracted? From CI or from the PKT? Or it was a multidisciplinary team as well? The one that was investigating the case of
It was,
Chair.
sorry, Honorable Chair, Member. It was the GCI Ops, which is assisted by PKTT, that was investigating up until the 6th. As I indicated that from the 19th, there are specialists that came in to work on these two cases. So it happened that because on the second case of kidnapping, you needed a proper and thorough digital forensic analysis to analyze the video footages that are so there was a lot that was done during that time also on that case. Hence, then we were ready for the search and seizure, unannounced one, because of evidence that we had. So it was the same team. But then soon after the operation of the 6th, and then the case was reallocated to the team that is in the office of the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Detection.
But General, the first team was allocated by you. Who withdrew it for the second team to be allocated?
The first
The first team was allocated by the National Commission.
by the National
Did the
Commission.
National Commission withdraw the first team for General Spear to appoint his own team?
No, he did not.
So it was a parallel team in a way.
A parallel team, I can.
So General Spear is behaving like a parallel National Commissioner. Thank you, Chair. I think the General can't answer the last question. Let me forgive him.
What is the answer or the opinion, General?
No, thank you, Chairperson, for rescuing me with my opinion. Yes, if I have to voice my opinion, I can agree with that narrative, because one would not expect that what National Commissioner has instructed, and then someone else must come and instruct otherwise. But one can say it was the chaotic moment. As I say, chaos started from the 6th. So as these things were happening, building up to January, we are still going to see as we move along the timeline as to how chaotic the situation was.
Can we proceed? Honorable Sangonia.
Chair, I suspect I'm covered. I wanted to know from the general what led them to Mr. Matlala's house as a prime suspect. But I think the general has said that there was a lot of digital forensic work that was done. I'm covered. Thank you, Chair.
Chief Whip.
No, thanks, Chair. General, my question is very linked to I think the latest question from Honorable Ngola. Has there been any opportunity for Spear to explain, General Spear to explain, why has he taken a decision to appoint a task team over and above an existing one appointed by the National Commissioner? So that's my first question. Has there been an explanation provided in that regard? The second question linked to that, when the National Commissioner became aware of that parallel process and yourself, what was your conclusion about what could be the motives of General Spear in carrying out an operation like that, parallel to the one that is sanctioned by the National Commission? I'm asking this question because I assume that, as we were told by the generals who came before you, that there's something called NASCOM, or a body of a national commissioner with provincial commissioners, where the lieutenant generals who are at the head office also attend.
Yeah.
But it's BOC or something, yeah. But beside that, I think there would be a direct communication between a national commissioner and any of his deputies. So I'm asking in that context, has there been any explanation provided either directly, one-on-one, or in the board? Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe giving the response, Honorable Chair, that will cover both questions. There's never been an explanation, but then one cannot be able to say at this level because one is reporting to the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Detection, General Khumalo, is reporting them. Now, if General Khumalo is called by the National Commissioner in the absence of the Deputy National Commissioner and direct that this case must be investigated by the GCI Ops, one then will presume that the National Commissioner would have informed the Deputy National Commissioner. So we were moving along with the investigation with that on mind, only to realize afterwards. Now again, when the reversal is happening, the Deputy National Commissioner wanting to reallocate the docket to his team, one might think that there has been a discussion between the two of them and the National Commissioner, only to find that when one then gave the report, which the docket is no longer with us, then the instruction of reallocating came from the National Commission.
Through you, Chair. So the reallocation back coming from the National Commissioner was going back to the original team, or you had to set up a different team?
No, the original team.
Thank you, Chair.
Charlie. Honorable Skosana.
I was covered, Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Nombalo.
Yeah, no, just one question, Chair. General, is it ordinary for the Deputy National Commissioner to change a team unilaterally to relocate? Is it a ordinary practice?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. It's not ordinary. It's not in line even with the discipline of what that is expected in the SAPS. So one would always presume that the instruction from the Deputy National Commissioner is something that has been discussed with the National Commission.
So General Spear acted extraordinary by doing what he did.
Yes, I can.
He did the unprecedented.
Yes, I can confirm.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Advocate Mukhaitz.
Okay, thank you, Chair. General Khumalo, I referred General to page.
Let's take Bangazit. I think he was on the list here.
Well, thanks, Honorable Chairperson. In fact, I have substantially been covered because my question was actually in relation to what Honorable Nola has already asked, because there was a gap in my view from the time when the original team actually did the investigation and at the time when the investigation was taken over by General Spear and given to another team. So that gap to me was problematic, but I'm troubled with the coincidence of the 6th of December, where Advocate Johnson actually also comes into the fray on the same day, demanding the immediate, oh, no, he used urgently, requesting, the dockets. Should I call them dockets? Yeah, dockets, that those dockets be handed over to her as a matter of urgency, all happening on the 6th. What would have actually prompted her to demand those dockets to actually be handed over to her? And she's raising a question of the trust deficit issue on a matter that was originally reported to the police, but suddenly she actually is raising an issue of the trust deficit with the SAPS. Why would the complainant go to the SAPS in the first place if the issue of trust was his concern?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. One was reflecting on the coincidence of because the dockets are for October. So now it has been November, it has been December, and the dockets were dealt with, were being worked on by the division inspectorate as it's indicated in the same letter. But then the agency comes on the 6th when we are busy with this takedown operation.
Thank you, Chair. General Khumalo, just while we're there, I referred General to that particular letter because I wanted clarity on just confirmation whether the events that happened on the 6th of December, this letter that was ultimately written for the request of the dockets, this is also the very same. Are these the dockets that ultimately led to General Khumalo's arrest in June 2025? Is this connected to your arrest that happened in June 2025?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. Indirectly, yes, because it's the same complainant. But what happened, because on these cases, according to the report from legal services, there was nothing tangible. And then a new case was registered by IDEC other than this, which is a proclaimed case now where we were arrested in June.
General, then I'd like us to go back to the events that leading up to the disbandment, and we've got quite a bit to cover there. I'm getting concerned about time because we've been put on time by the chair. But in your statement, you've mentioned that after the 6th of December, after that raid, you went back to Mr. Ket Matlala's property, this time his office. And you conducted a second raid. Now we know from the evidence that was also given by Mr. Matlala that the second raid also resulted in litigation that he instituted against you for the return of certain items. And including in these items, or included in the items, was allegations that you have misappropriated jewelry and a MacBook while you were conducting your raid. Could you just briefly take us through the events of in relation to the second operation that you conducted?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. Maybe then to save time, I'll follow the timeline operation is on the 6th. On the 12th, the team returns the cell phones. There is no litigation yet, but on the 12th, the team, because as I've indicated, we are the team is self-sufficient. Everything, the turnaround time of all the analysis or of work is very short because we have dedicated capacity and dedicated specialists. So the cell phones were returned on the 12th, and then on the 13th, and then Mr. Matlala signed the affidavit at High Court demanding his cell phones that were brought back on the 12th already. So on the 13th, he then filed the affidavit at court. So the only thing that was still outstanding were firearms. But in his affidavit, he's including even the cell phones that had already been returned. And then on the 17th, he filed then the notice of motion. On the 18th, as agreed upon between the team, Mr. Matlala and his lawyer, that was the appointment date to say that, because on the 6th, when the team took the 4 firearms, they wanted the rest of the firearms. But then Mr. Matlala indicated that they are on the sites. I reflected on the team being professional, understanding business. And then the team asked us to when can you be able then to bring the firearms together so as we can finalize the compliance inspection. And then it was agreed that will be on the 18th of December. And then indeed the team went there only to find that the responsible person who's having the safe key is not there. And then Mr. Matlala and the lawyer requested the postponement of that compliance, of which the team agreed to the following day. Hence, then on the 19th, the team went back, and then that compliance did take place, and 18 firearms then were confiscated for ballistic testing. Then on the 20th of December, that is when the team learned now of, because the previous date we saw on the papers, but we only learned on the 20th that Mr. Matlala has instituted high court proceedings for the return of his firearms as well as cell phones. To touch on the point, I think under paragraph 137, the interdict was to prevent any further harassment and the return. I'm touching on harassment after I've indicated on the working together on the 18th and on the 19th. Now, but then on the court papers, it's harassment and the return of the following items: the Rolex watch, which was not part of what the team confiscated, and the watch, yes, the firearms, the MacBook was also not part of the cell phones. 2, the team took 5, not 2, but he wanted 2 on the court papers, as well as 2 rifles and a Beretta 9mm pistol. That is what was listed. Then, but other than the cell phones and the firearms, the team did not confiscate, even in the form of stealing those items. And also on paragraph 138, one is tempted to also indicate, because in the founding affidavit is saying he was visited by 100 police officers from Special Task Force. No, there were not 100, there was only 8. But then, as I indicated, that when we come and then you will think that we are 1,000. And then there were 8 special task force members and 8 NIU or TRT members the members that were there according to our deployment plan. So we are confirming that other than the firearms which were taken for ballistic testing, the cell phones were returned 5 days after the 6th. They were returned on the 12th. The allegations were in fact fabricated. The only items that were removed, as I've indicated, is firearms as well as 5 cell phones, not 2. Then the opposing papers were prepared by the team as well as the legal services of SAPS and were submitted then as per SDK 16. That is what happened then up until the between the 20th and the 22nd. And then on the 23rd, now, because as I've said, I said maybe so as we save time, we do it in a timeline format. Mr. Mkhosi is sending a WhatsApp. Now, this is the information that is coming from Matlala's phone in May, but it's filling in the gaps of what transpired in December. Then on the 23rd, Mr. Mkhosi is sending a WhatsApp text to Mr. Matlala, wherein he is stating IPIT guy name, my brother, any news from IPIT. So that is the discussion now that is taking place during the time when there are cases that Matlala needs to open against the team. And then still on the 23rd, I was called in a meeting with the former minister, Begicele, not in Durban, in Pretoria, where he informed me that he had a meeting with Mr. Matlala, and Mr. Matlala informed him that he was requested to fabricate the allegations in relation to the jewelry and the MacBook as part of his founding affidavit, so as then General Sbia can have a case that he can be able to deal with me with accordingly. And then that is what we are used to if we are operators, that there will be those cases that will be fabricated and be opened. But then, as I'm indicating on 143, that Mr. Matlala was advised to fabricate the charges against me by Lieutenant General Sbia in order to provide General Sbia with departmentally, including possible, with something to charge me departmentally, including then my dismissal. My response to that, I did confirm to the former minister that, yeah, that is coming from our normal operation that we conducted on the 6th, and further compliance inspections that we conducted. We have returned the cell phones, and the firearms are still undergoing ballistic testing. As soon as we are done, and then if there is nothing wrong, we will return them back to him. But if there is something wrong, then we are going to charge him as it's a norm. Then that was the end of the meeting. And then the matter, then I'm going back now to the High Court matter. The matter then was set for the 24th of December, and then it did not continue because Matlala decided not to proceed with the matter. The court made an order that the matter be removed from the roll, and a copy of the order is attached also as SDK 17. The state attorney that was appointed to deal with the matter in the council on behalf of the police, they were at court on that day, ready to proceed with the matter. The allegations that there was any settlement agreement entered to with Matlala are false, because the firearms were not back yet. They were still with our ballistic experts. And then we were continuing with our plan as it was planned. But then the matter then did not continue at court based on Mr. Matlala's withdrawal.
And so before we move forward, and I know you want to probably note paragraph 146 as well, and elaborate on that. But as you proceed further, I'd like you to continue with a reference to the annexure bundle, because there you refer directly to WhatsApp messages from paragraph 147. So as you proceed in your statement, maybe take us through from the big file, paragraph 1, page 174. Now, in paragraph 1, from paragraph 141 to 169 in your statement, it suggests that the minister played a role in the disbandment of the PKTT. So could you maybe explain to us, with reference to what is already in your statement, how you arrived at that conclusion, and take us through the text that you've attached to your statement, General?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Must I start at 146?
I think that's where you left off.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. On paragraph 146, one is flagging on the minister that was called by the meeting that was called by the minister, where the tender of Mr. Matlala was discussed. The reason for flagging that is, since the Medicare that one was not aware of, we are from operational environment, we are not privy to who's having which tender. Then one will take it that SAPS, more especially the directorates that are within the support environment are the ones that are dealing with tenders. Then there was no noise up until the operation of the 6th of December. And after that operation on the 6th of December, in the court papers that were submitted by Mr. Matlala, there was an inclusion of this issue of a tender. And that document, as they normally operate, leaking the documents that they submit anywhere else, it was leaked. It was all over the print and social media from the 20th. Then it made headlines up until the minister called the meeting on the 24th with SAPS management to discuss this tender. The point that one is driving to was this meeting, discussion, and the cancellation of the tender going to happen if there was no operation on the 6th of December, which then resulted in the High Court issues, where then this tender issue was also part of, because that's when it became known to the general public. So we are saying basically the operation on the 6th was the cause for the meeting of the 24th and the subsequent cancelling of the tender later on. Then moving to 1.147, then going through the WhatsApp communication, which are also attached from SDK 19, page 174. In my affidavit, I did not include all of them. I only included the ones that are talking to the subject matter.
Yeah, the ones referred to in your statement are attached.
Let's take Honorable Mathis.
Thank you, Chair. I was hoping that I'd ask these questions before we moved on to the next theme. Mine was on your meeting with the former Minister, Becky Cele. Were you not shocked, General, that he called you, and did he say to you before the actual meeting what he wanted to talk to you about? And also, was the meeting around, did it come across to you that he was paid by Matlala to sort of make his situation go away? Because according to the testimony of Kat Matlala, he said he paid Becky Cele also to help him get his firearms back. And that was the biggest thing he was worried about, that SAPS took his firearms, he couldn't get his firearms, and he was desperate. That's why he reached out to Becky Cele. So you, as an official of SAPS, meeting with the former minister, I mean, I know he was your boss at some point. Was it a sound decision for you to do that? Did he offer you money also to be on the side or to side or make this case of Cat go away? You need to tell us that, because you're just giving us a bird's eye view of what happened there. And I'm sure, knowing the former minister, Becky Cele, he can talk. So can you give us a little bit more details there? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, let me start by saying even if one can do the communication analysis, you won't find any call between me and the former minister, even during the time when he was the minister. I try my best not to learn things that I do not know. So there was no communication. I won't say I was shocked, but the message when it came and the agency of the matter through a person who was requested that I must make myself available, it's very important. Then there is nothing else. In terms of did I suspect something, there is nothing that I suspected. I was just interested in what is it that is so important. Then when then the meeting did take place, he did then explain to me about the plan that is being hacked for me then to be dealt with in terms of what I've explained as a concerned former minister. That's what I picked up from him.
So, General, you're saying that the minister called you, or the former minister wanted to have this meeting with you. Are you comfortable to tell us who he asked to give you that message to make yourself available? And are you saying that's all? He just wanted to warn you? It was nothing else. There was nothing else in your engagement. It was from the bottom of his heart. He felt the need to tell you that there's a plot against you.
Yes, starting from the messenger who was then requested for me to make myself available. I could pick up that there is something important that I need to avail myself. I must say, I last saw him in person and even, during his farewell function. So I think it was after some months that I've never seen him. I've indicated the position about talking. So the person who then facilitated the meeting was Lieutenant General Kamani, who then said, the former minister said, he has to see you. It's important. It's for your own good. And that's when then I made myself available for those few hours, minutes.
Honorable Ngola,
Covered by Honorable Matthias, Chair, thanks.
Honorable Sango.
Chair, I want to say I'm covered, but I don't think I'm hearing the general correctly. General, are you disputing the evidence that former Minister Ele put before this committee and that Mr. Matlala, I think Mr. Matlala confirmed, well, it was Mr. Matlala, in fact, it wasn't the former minister, that while they were together, General Ele picked up the phone and called you and said, give back this man his guns. And then the guns were then returned because Mr. Matlala said that call was made in his presence.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. That I heard it for the first time through Mr. Matlala's evidence. What I knew and what I know and what was already on my affidavits was what I'm explaining, that it was facilitated as an agent meeting and for my own good from the concerned former minister. That was the reason I also availed myself for that meeting. And then when he told me that, and then I took note, but I was not shocked because by this time already, as my problems and the PKTT started from the 6th of December. So it was not like I was shocked that there is this plan. I took note of it, but to confirm again, Honorable Chair, there was no call that was received. It was a meeting, face-to-face meeting.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose Mr. Matlala could have been lying. I'll come back to it during my question session. Thanks, Chair.
Honorable.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. If my memory serves me well, because I remember a follow-up question was made to Mr. Matlala about the Khumalo he was speaking about. I think he made an indication that he was talking about Brigadier Khumalo, who works in the police station wherein the guns were kept. Because at some point I remember we were confusing the two Khumalos. And then he corrected us, he corrected the committee. He said, no, I'm not talking about Khumalo, who is the head of intelligence, of crime intelligence. I'm talking about Brigadier Khumalo.
That is a correct assertion of what he said. My records agree with that.
Is that one of the battery, Chair, not this one? Is that one of the battery, not this one? Thank you, Chair.
Advocate Mohaitz. Yeah, even here there is another. Eh? What are you saying, Jali?
I'm saying the ice boy chair. Thank you.
The other one is also a Khumalo. Eh?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Advocate Mohaid.
Yes, Chair. The question that was put to General Khumalo was, he's indicated that the minister's directive to disband the PKTT, or rather the events that unfolded, and this can be seen from the text messages between Ket Matlala and Mokhotsi. In his statement, General Khumalo, you suggest that these events seem to have been directly linked to the directive that was subsequently issued by the minister. And my question to you was, how did you arrive at that conclusion with a reference to the WhatsApp messages that you've attached to your statement?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The build up to the 31st, we see, if you look at what is happening on the ground to us and what is discussed. Remember, what is discussed, we see it in May. So before May, we were not aware because we only picked up the WhatsApp communication in May during the arrest of Matlala. But then when you look at the activities as built up, hence then I started with the WhatsApp message on the 24th. Where Mr. Mokhotsi is asking Mr. Matlala, how is the court proceedings? Now you link that up with the High Court proceedings that I've just explained as to what happened. And then after that, then they were on a WhatsApp call, the two of them. Then on the 25th, Mr. Mokhotsi is sending another text to Mr. Matlala, reminding him of three things. He says, one, I PID. So it means he did not get the I PID guy response. Now, two, court case date. So again, referring to, and then the third one is a 25%, we may lose accommodation and flight packages. That is in line with then the deal that they were having, that Mr. Matlala was going to pay for some of the delegates that were going for January 8th statement or coming this side. Then the next one, on the same day, Mr. Matlala is now responding on the previous messages. He's just saying, let me know when you are back. The banks open tomorrow. I'll settle that deposit thing. So he's responding to point number 3. And then on the first and the second point, he says, the rest we'll discuss whenever you are available. Then moving on to on the same day, Christmas Day, when everybody is happy. Then on the same day, Mokhotsi is asking again, a reminder, IPID can be a breakthrough. So this is the third time now Mr. Mokhotsi is asking about the IPID progress. And then Mr. Matlala replies, there is a bit of a hurdle there, but I'll fill you in. And then Mr. Mokhotsi is insisting, will it work? And then Mr. Matlala then fails to hold back the answer. Then he gives the answer because he has been saying, we'll talk about it. He says, it needs someone brave enough. So that is the response from will it work? Then on the 27th of December, and then Matlala collected his own personal firearm from Brooklyn. it was the first firearm that came back from ballistic. And that, no, they all came back, but he collected only his own firearm on the 27th of December. Then on the 27th of December, so the other firearms are still at the police station, but they were all, because I think we have indicated our turnaround time for firearms that are less than 20, it's a week and a half or a week when we have to do the ballistic testing.
Honorable James.
General, thank you. I've been vindicated because Mr. Matlala, when we questioned him, he insisted that he collected all his firearms, not just the one that belonged to him. Why was it that he didn't collect the others? Were they not registered in his name?
Thank you, Chair. Maybe then fast forward, I was still going to come to that part. When were they collected? They were only collected on the 31st of December. The other firearms by Nika Mareko. So these firearms were not registered in Matlala's name, so he could not collect them. They were registered in the company's name. So he had to change the responsible person, and it's paperwork that you need to do for someone then to come and collect the firearms.
So you can confirm that he lied under oath when he testified and insisted that he collected all his firearms.
That is correct, Honorable Chair. I have
Thank you.
evidence in terms of registers.
Honorable Shongwe.
Thank you. General, ngicela clarify something la. You're saying the guns were not owned by Matlala's company, right? They were owned by a certain company. You're saying that?
No, Honorable Chair, I say they were owned by the company, not him.
His company,
His company, but
Okay.
not him.
not him personally.
Not him personally. He was only having a license of one firearm.
Okay.
So the other licenses were belonging to a company.
Is this the same company I thenge ku Mawumela?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Let's proceed, Advocate Mkhwetsi.
Because the General Khumalo was interrupted while he was going through the sequence of the WhatsApp text. Just would like to allow him to finish the sequence dealing with how these communications were linked to the directive that followed on the 31st of December.
Thank you, Chair. So on the 27th, maybe before that, on the 25th, I highlighted the persistence of Mr. Mkhwetsi to Matlala about the IPT progress. And then at the end, Matlala is responding that it looks like it's not happening. It needs someone brave enough. Now, on the 27th, Mr. Mkhwetsi sent a message to Matlala, which is a screenshot of his chat with the minister, asking if the arrest was effected. Then after receiving that, so in other words, according to our analysis and interpretation, Mr. Mkhwetsi is now showing Matlala that it's not me who wants a response, it's the minister. Look at his question. And then Matlala then is forced then to respond and saying the case needs to have assault for him to effect an arrest. He's saying he can't do arrest if there is no J88 to prove assault, and my wife is not keen to open such a case. And the guards are also that were assaulted are also not at my house. They are only coming back in January. They went home for Christmas. So that message is a response of the question on arrest. On paragraph 155, we are demonstrating that with these two paragraphs above, we are demonstrating that the minister's response to the question of any arrest effected cannot be construed as referring to the Stilfontein illegal mining incident as it has been presented as evidence. Then on the 30th December, the PKTT, another very noteworthy, the PKTT ballistic analyst issues the first report that is linking the Vereeniging case firearms with other cases, including the killing of DJ Somebody. The heat is getting on hotter. And then on the 31st, then as I've indicated, Henrika then collect the firearms of Cat VIP from Brooklyn and not Mr. Matlala as he alleged under oath. And then on the 31st, Mr. Mokhozi sent a screenshot about a constitutional court case, Cape Town case that he shared with the minister, saying that the minister or Sibiya can use this judgment to dismiss me, Samuel Dumisani Khumalo. Then on the 31st, again, Mr. Mkhosi wrote to Mr. Matlala, reminding him about the outstanding issues. Now, this again today is the day. On the other side, I also think you must stand back. Mr. Matlala replies, stand back. I don't understand what you mean. Mr. Mkhosi says, for your safety and business, we must just fight what comes your way. And then Mr. Matlala responds to Mkhosi. This won't change my contribution towards the minister, though. I made a conscious decision and I'm not backing down. Whatever help the minister needs from my side, I'll be happy to assist. I just don't want to fight the losing battles. Then Mr. Mkhosi responds, here is our backlog and we now need to deal with this. It's the last day. I thought we spoke about it, but we did many regions. It's only 2 regions left. Is it possible for you to intervene on the membership for 2 regions at 12.5K each? Because today we must pay. This is the activities and communication of the 31st, the whole day. Then Mr. Matlala to Mokotsi, I'm sorry I missed your calls. I do not have a problem to help, but there is something I need to understand. Also hear what my concerns are. Please, like I said before, can we kindly meet whenever you have time and hear what I have to say? Then in the afternoon, the minister signs the disbandment letter. That is the business of the day on the 31st, the communication coupled with what's happening on the ground, which makes us to strongly believe that the letter and the disbandment of the PKTT was because of Mr. Matlala's complaint of harassment by the team, and Mr. Matlala was paying a lot in terms of the transitions and monies that you can refer to the Cape Town trip on the same day, talking about, and the 2 regions that he needs to pay for. There is a lot, and then the letter is signed, whilst then he is having all those problems. To continue, on the 1st of January, Mr. Mkhosi writes to Matlala, good day, I have arranged a meeting for Sbia and Minister, must have a solution. And then Mr. Mkhosi to Matlala again at night, the task team that came to your house and harassed you has been dissolved. According to our metadata analysis.
Just General.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. General, I just wanted to ask quickly, these regions, did you mention which regions? Because I'm looking at the page 50, maybe I've missed something, I might be wrong. When you say, you said there's 2 regions, I can see here, paragraph 163.
Paragraph 163. No, they are not mentioned, the regions in this message as to which regions that are.
And in terms of region, was he talking about political parties?
If you follow the whole discussion, yes.
So that was the ANC, am I right?
It's not indicated as to which political party.
Oh, well, the chief whip is here. He can confirm. Thank you.
The chief whip is not a witness here. Are you trying to implicate him?
I'm satisfied, Chair. Thank you.
Advocate Mokhoetsi. Honorable members, can we give Advocate Mokhoetsi this last hour to wrap up as a brief? Honorable Souls, you have not spoken. Are you fine? Okay.
Thank you so much, Chair. General Khumalo, you've mentioned a sequence of events that happened, and this is communication between, which includes the communication between Mr. Matlala and Mr. Mkhosi, and then there were the raids that happened at Mr. Matlala's home, which you now say in conclusion, it appears that the directive was issued for ulterior motives. The other operations that you've mentioned of Mr. Molifi, is that linked to any of this, or is the directive solely based at the behest of Mr. Matlala's operations? How are we to understand that the ulterior motives that you refer to? What does that include? To protect Mr. Matlala's interest or to protect other operations that were also ongoing at the time?
According to our belief and understanding of the events of the day, hence then one started by a coincidence that in both operations, there was a coincidence of the name dropping. And then as events were unfolding, and then we see Mr. Matlala being more prominent. But on the other hand, Mr. Molifi was busy with his bail application that he ended up getting at High Court.
Because we've only been given an hour, I am sure members will extensively take you through the events that you've mentioned and other issues that we've already addressed. I would then like to move on and to make good use of the hour that I have by referring to the disestablishment of the PKTT. Now, you've left off with your description of a sequence that led to the issuing of the directive, and then in paragraphs 175 to 210, you then describe what subsequently happened in relation to the implementation of the directive that was issued. General, I don't intend to take you through all of the evidence that you've mentioned there in the manner that we have been doing up to now because of time. So I'm going to pose a few questions to you, and you should at liberty to refer to as much as you wish, and that you obviously consider important. From what we've heard in the evidence that was given in relation to the implementation of the directive, it appears that the implementation was spearheaded by the Deputy National Commissioner, because the National Commissioner at the time was on leave, and the email that was then directed to by the Acting National Commissioner to the Deputy National Commissioner has seen an event unfold of the Deputy National Commissioner taking charge and seeing to the implementation of that. In your view, was it correctly placed with the Deputy National Commissioner to see to the implementation of the directive? And was he, because you are the coordinator of the PKTT, was the Deputy National Commissioner familiar enough with the operations of the PKTT to undertake such a big task?
Thank you, Chair. To answer the question directly, I will say no, according to my view. I explained in details the procedure of establishment, that the approval, the final approval is with the accounting officer, the National Commissioner. So there was an acting National Commissioner. If the matter was so urgent, then the process was supposed to be handled by the acting National Commissioner in the absence of the National Commissioner.
Then just in relation to the implementation of the directive, like I've indicated, we've heard evidence from the National Commissioner and General Masimula. It's been confirmed that the National Commissioner was on leave at the time when the directive was issued, but he was back at around the 16th of January. and you deal with the events that happened on the 16th of January in paragraph 185 of your statement. And you indicate there that upon the return of the National Commissioner, yourself and the National Commissioner had a meeting with the minister where the minister was briefed not just on PKTT, but overall what the work of the PKTT was with the counterintelligence at the time. Is that correct?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. That is very correct. On the 16th of January, myself and the National Commissioner briefed the Minister on GCI Ops. The main reason and the agency was the threat that one was foreseeing, looking at the happenings of the 6th of December and the ongoing operations that were still active by then. But the other issue was it coincided, not coincided. There was a lot also because the other wing of attack was the use of print and social media against myself through my position as the divisional commissioner. So we felt the need to go and brief the minister on the real reason behind this attack, which was the GCI Ops.
And then in paragraph 192 of your statement, you indicate that at the time and not being aware of the WhatsApp messages between Mr. Matlala and Mr. Mkhotsi, which you've just read to us, you said you found it peculiar that the instruction letter from General Sibiya required the closing out report to include information that the minister ought to have considered at the time when he made the decision to disband. So it appears if one reads your statement that when you briefed the minister on 16 January and subsequent events, or at least for January, there was no indication that you now considered that there was a ulterior motive behind the director. At which point did you form this conclusion while you were engaging with the minister?
The National Commissioner came back from leave on the 14th. That's when then we had a discussion on the disbandment letter, and then he gave me the direction then to start writing a preliminary report. So on the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, all those days, we were in a process of drafting the report. So the agency of briefing the minister on GI Ops came before the preliminary report. And then soon after the briefing on the 16th, and then I received then the directive from the Deputy National Commissioner on the 17th, that is having a list of issues that I need to include in the preliminary report. I've analyzed some, but basically they are all talking to the confliction of the disbandment directive from the Deputy National Commissioner's office now with the actions that he says I must take. I'm summarizing them from 1 up to 30. Which is paragraph 191. And then maybe with one breath to sum up also the other confusion that was on that long directive. I was supposed to give the summary of the key considerations that resulted in the decision to disband the PKTT. I did not disband the PKTT. but I'm expected to give the reasons by the TNC. And then secondly, also on the next page, I was expected to do the analysis of the PKTT's effectiveness and impact on crime reduction. Already the letter was saying the team is having no value, but then afterwards, then I must give that impact analysis. And then the most concerning aspect was that I was expected to include in the report, according to the Deputy National Commissioner, was to include the stakeholder feedback from organizations such as NPA and SSA in response to the announcement of the disbandment. In other words, I was supposed to ask them, how do you feel? How did you take it? And then write back in the report, and which I found it very impossible for me to do. So that is all in terms of the summary of the directive on the 17th. Then, as I've indicated, paragraph 193, that's when then we were busy with the preliminary report with the National Commission.
Maybe do you want to briefly take us through that? Because the request to you that came through that you've now discussed or mentioned that asks you for things which you obviously did not agree with. You did not agree that the PKTT did not add any value. You did not agree to the disbandment of the PKTT. So in your report, do you want to take us briefly through what you then recommended or what you said in response to the request for the report?
The report is attached as SDK 23. It's a very detailed report, but importantly, I'll go straight to the way forward that was proposed by the National Commissioner in case then the disbandment is undertaken, where he proposed that it must take the winding down instead of immediate disbandment, with those steps that are indicated from A to D, no, to G.
One other issue that came up, which we've also learned from evidence that was given from other witnesses, is there was criticism in relation to your specific role on the PKTT as coordinator and as the head of crime intelligence. Now, we see from your statement that in paragraph 205, that this was raised by the minister during this process of implementation and reporting back and forth on in how the PKTT should be disbanded. You indicate in paragraph 205 that the minister criticized you for your role and questioned why you were so invested in keeping the PKTT. Was there any merit to the concerns raised about your dual role that you played as head of crime intelligence and then also head of the PKTT?
Before the 6th of December, I've never heard any concern about me being the Divisional Commissioner, Crime Intelligence, as well as the coordinator of PKTT. As senior officers, it's one of the expectations that you can carry more than what you are appointed for, more especially when it comes to interventions. There is one operation that was the task team. There is one task team that was established in the same December with the directive of the minister in the Eastern Cape, where a a Major General Zulu, who's appointed as the head of specialized operations in Pretoria, was then appointed to be the coordinator of that operation. So it's part of the package for us as senior officers then to be, unless if you approach the National Commissioner and then raise some concerns that you cannot do it.
As part of the request that was made for reports and in the implementation of the directive, a request was made for dockets, and you deal with this in your statement, and you say that the dockets were handed over in March 2025 to I think it's in paragraph. Can't seem to see it, but it was said that the dockets was handed over in March 2025. You mentioned this specifically. Is there anything peculiar about a request that the dockets be handed over as part of the disbandment process? Why is that a peculiar issue to you that they would make such a request?
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, the first directive from the Deputy National Commissioner that was directed to me only was having that instruction that the dockets must be handed over to Lieutenant General Sintumul, of which I did not comply. And then the second instruction then was directed to General Sintumule only, now directing her then to take the dockets from me, of which then that was in compliance then of that instruction by General Sintumule on the 28th of March.
Yes, you addressed that in paragraph 206 of your statement. And as I related to my previous question, and the reason why I asked whether there was anything peculiar in the request for dockets is because in paragraph 207, General, you mentioned that there was a request on the 16th after you've handed over the dockets in March. There was a further request that came through on the 16th of April by Brigadier Nkwashu, where he made an attempt to retrieve a criminal docket pertaining to a case in which Mr. Molefe is charged. Is there anything, was there anything suspicious about this request?
Yes, thank you so much, Honorable Chair, honorable members. After handing over of the dockets on the 28th of March, and then on the 16th of April, a Brigadier Nkwashu made an attempt to retrieve the docket where Mr. Kadiso Molefe was charged. That is the Anat Swart docket, Ferenecheng. According to Brigadier Nkwashu, this action was taken following the instruction from the Provincial Commissioner, who allegedly mandated that the docket be handed over immediately. So that gave us suspicions that it is because this docket was not part of those that were handed over on the 28th of March. Hence now this instruction is specific to that docket.
What was Brigadier Nkwashu's involvement in this implementation process? I believe his name hasn't been as prominent as other names. So what was his involvement and why would he request, how did he initiate this request?
Brigadier Nkwashu is the Deputy District Commissioner of the district within which Vereeniging falls. So he was complying with the instruction from the provincial commissioner's office to the district commissioner that the docket must be brought back, according to him. Maybe it's important just to add this. The Brigadier Nkwashu is the same Brigadier Nkwashu that is also appearing in some parts of my statement as a brigadier who visited Katiso Mulife in prison, driving a vehicle without registration plates, taking clothes and food to Katiso Mulife in prison.
Uh,
That's correct, Honorable Chair. According to my information, that's correct.
um, General Khumalo, you indicate further that on 22 April 2025, the Deputy National Commissioner gave further instructions. This is now while the National Commissioner is already back in office. The Deputy National Commissioner appears to not have abandoned the instruction to implement the directive, even when the National Commissioner is now back. Did you find anything sort of untoward, the fact that his Deputy National Commissioner, the National Commissioner is back, and he's still writing instructions and say by this date, this must be finalized? Was there anything untoward about the manner in which he continuously conducted the implementation of the directive?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes, it was still difficult to understand, more especially because I was now working with the National Commissioner on this issue. And the Deputy National Commissioner was informed, was aware, and I think in one of his affidavits, he has confirmed that he was told by the National Commissioner to leave this process or whatever away to myself and the National Commission, but still there are letters. But maybe what I can also add here, these are events that are making us to believe or to confirm now that disbandment of the PKT was a mistaken identity. On the 28th of March, we hand over the dockets. On the 16th of April, now a direct instruction for a particular docket of Katisom leaf. Now on the 22nd of April, another letter now from the Deputy National Commissioner demanding all dockets now, including those that are in court. So Katisom Leaf's docket was in court. We had submitted as per the proposal only those that were under investigation. So these activities made us to believe that the disbandment of the PKTT was the mistaken identity indeed.
Can we continue? Um, General, I have sort of taken you very quickly through the statement for the past 30 minutes because I was trying to cover the time, but I don't want to sort of do you some sort of injustice if there's anything in particular that you'd like to highlight to the members. In particular, in relation to the dockets, we know that the dockets were subsequently returned, and this is dealt with by yourself in paragraphs 2011 up until 2019. Is there anything in relation to the return of the dockets that you'd like to speak to? We have, the committee at least has heard quite extensive documents about evidence about the return of the dockets. So I'd like to give you an opportunity if there's anything in relation to the return of the dockets that you'd like to emphasize other than what is in your statement.
Nothing in particular with regard to the return of the dockets.
Now, Advocate Mkhwetsi, we have agreed that this is your hour. Let's proceed.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
You are under protection from the chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. General Khumalo. General Khumalo, part of the reason why I also sort of rushed through is because I wanted General to have an opportunity to speak to the reasons that we've heard from the minister as to why the PKTT was disbanded, and you deal with that in your statement. And I know a lot of questions are probably going to arise from that, but I wanted to give General Khumalo an opportunity to just take us through whether the reasons mentioned by the minister were in fact justified, and if not, in what respect were they lacking, or could they not have been a valid justification for the disbandment of the PKTT? You've mentioned a few in there, and so if you could just, from paragraph 220 in your statement, maybe if you could just start off with each item that was mentioned by the minister and address us briefly on why these reasons are not valid or doesn't have any merit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Maybe then to try and summarize my input with regard to the decisions, let me start by saying, after one learned of the reasons provided in to the disbandment letter, one could not believe, because one is involved. One knows that the team is adding value, because that was the only reason that was there. Now, from what happened from the 6th of December, it made one to believe that that might be the only genuine reason why then the team is disbanded. But getting to the reasons that were given then afterwards, hence one is terming them as the afterthoughts, because it's reasons that are coming way after the letter, and they are also not in line with the high-level reason provided for in the letter. Starting maybe with the work study in relation to the murder and robbery, where the minister is contending that the recommendation in relation to this work study was that the PKTT's function needs to be transferred to murder and robbery unit within SAPS in order to capacitate and direct focus on a more permanent structure. I've indicated earlier on that a task team cannot be compared to a unit. A task team is established for a particular purpose, and then a task team, it's whereby you bring the different expertise together to work together as a team, whereas a unit, it's whereby you need 20 investigating officers to establish the murder and robbery unit. So comparing a task team to a unit, according to me, does not make a reason. And the purpose of the 2019 work study, if you go through, was to check the feasibility of the establishment of specializing units within detective services. It was not meant for the assessment of the task teams. Another misinterpretation by the minister on the work study is where he recommends the current task teams to be subjected to an impact analysis by OD and strategic management in the provinces to ensure the feasibility and the existing of teams. So even that document is not recommending the disestablishment. It recommends the impact analysis and feasibility studies to be conducted, but to the provincial task teams. It's not talking to the national. The purpose of the implementation report by Colonel Mare was to determine the implementation status of the specialized units that were established. The minister further misinterpreted paragraph 8.9 and 8.10 of the recommendations. No task team be established without a written or approved documentation. That is one of the recommendations, which is contrary to disestablish the existing task teams. Instead, it says any task team that is established at provincial level must be with the approval of the provincial commissioner. And the second one talks to the current task teams to be subjected to an impact analysis, as I've indicated. That is what was supposed to have happened with the correct procedure of disbanding the national task team. The impact analysis was supposed to be conducted first. In terms of budgetary constraints and lack of oversight of the work of PKTT, I explained in my affidavit at length the oversight mechanism that was and still in place for the PKTT. Out of all the task teams that are currently on, it is and it was the PKTT that was having such oversight mechanism than all of them. So the budgetary constraint issue, that one was addressed by the CFO during her testimony, but one can confirm that during that time, PKTT was not the only task team that was in place. We had and we still have others that were in place since 2017, long before the PKTT in 2018, and they are still in place even today. So the issue of budgetary constraints cannot be applicable to the PKTT only. On the next paragraphs, I'm indicating those operations that are still on, that were on before 2018 and are still on. But then on paragraph 233, maybe let me start from paragraph 232, where we are reflecting to the contradiction during the very same December. When the minister then wrote the disbandment, earlier that same month, on the 9th of December, the minister then directed for the establishment of the task team in the Eastern Cape addressing taxi violence. The information note in relation to the formation of this task team indicates that the minister has tasked Major General Zulu due to the complaint by the families of the victims of murder in the Eastern Cape, which is normally the same reason that the task teams are formed for. So in the same month, earlier in December, the task team is formed, and then the same month, another task team is disbanded, and then the extension of other task teams. Then summing up the last reason that talks to the complaints against the PKTT. The reasons provided by the minister further includes the allegations of complaints which were received regarding the abuse of power by the PKTT from members who were part of and who were previously part or are still part of the task team. As the command structures at all levels, we have never received such complaints, so as we are able then to provide necessary feedback or accountability to the minister with regards to those complaints, because they have never been discussed with us nor verified with us whether they are true or not. That will lead me to the last part of the complaints received from Patricia Mashale and Mary de Haas, which were also cited as the reasons for the disbandment. According to our profile, Patricia Mashale is an information peddler who is talking whatever he is sent to talk about. But then from paragraph 240, we are putting the correct profile of Miss Patricia Mashale from when she was dismissed by the Department of Health due to desertion and was employed by SAPS without declaring that he was dismissed. Hence, then he was dismissed again in the SAPS because of that lack of declaration. She developed hatred for SAPS. That is the profile that we have. She developed hatred of SAPS up until such time that she formed a WhatsApp group of SAPS members for change that is made up of all members that are dismissed from the SAPS. So for her to talk anything negative about the SAPS, then it's not far-fetched. So all what she says, it needs to be verified before then maybe a decision is taken. On paragraph 240, we are mentioning just one example where Mr. Mashale where Miss Mashale lied that Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo has a brother who is a Captain Khumalo in the SAPS. I have 3 brothers. None of them is a captain in the SAPS, but then these are issues. So it's really baffling that the minister will take such a person seriously without first verifying any of the allegations made by her. Maybe for the sake of time, I just need to say same applies to Mary Dihas.
Then General Khumalo, just to also briefly touch on some issues that came through from the evidence that were given by other witnesses in relation to the raid that was that happened at Mr. Matlala's residence and the seizure of his phones. Now, when Advocate Johnson appeared before the committee, it was alleged that the phones of Mr. Matlala was already on, and there were concerns that items might have been deleted. Now we know in Mr. Matlala's evidence as well, there was an allegation that some items were deleted and then there was some tampering with his phones. Now, in paragraph 256 of your statement, you do not deny that the phones were on, but you provide an explanation as to why this was, and you deny that the phones were tampered with. Do you want to just briefly provide an explanation for why the phones were in fact on when it was collected from the PKTT?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I wish to place on record that the allegations that data was deleted from the phones of Mr. Matlala are false. No one else other than us that were interested in all the information that we could get, because we were the only ones and are still the only ones that are investigating Mr. Matlala. Then addressing the issue of maybe why the cell phones were on, from paragraph 254, the phones were seized from Mr. Matlala on the 14th and were received by our digital forensic investigator on the 15th of May. And then on the 30th of May, the cell phones were handed over to IDEC as instructed by the National Commissioner. The digital forensic was still busy working on the phones. There were suspicions that there might be other reasons why IDEC is so urgently needing these phones, but then we made sure that the proper chain statements and processes are followed, whereby our digital forensic investigator, whilst the phone was still on, they were handed over to IDEC because he was still working on the phone when the instruction over came that the phones must be handed over. But the process of handing over in terms of resealing and completing the necessary handing over documents was done. Then after the phone content was downloaded, then the chats between Matlala and Mkhosi regarding this disbandment was discovered. Some of it is the one that I was talking to. So addressing the issue of possible deletion, the screenshots of these chats were taken, which explains that it's possible for a person to say, my phone was still active even after my arrest, because the metadata activity is still recording when our DFIs are working on the phone.
But it's not an indication of tampering. Okay. And then, General, just to go through some of the evidence that also came through during Mr. Matlala's evidence before the committee. And this is from paragraph 258 of your statement. Now, Mr. Matlala, in front of the committee, denied that he has dual citizenship, and he denied that he has an Eswatini ID. But in your statement, in paragraph 263, you said that the statement made by Mr. Matlala was false and that it was false that he doesn't have dual citizenship, and you, in your statement, attach some documentation which confirmed that he in fact does have dual citizenship and that he was not being honest before the committee. Do you briefly want to just explain the nature of the evidence that you managed to obtain to support the statement that he does in fact have dual citizenship?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Indeed, it is us who identified through our investigation that there is a possibility of Mr. Matlala having the second identity book. And then we followed up that investigation, and we can confirm now that Mr. Matlala made a false statement in Parliament as well as at court on paragraph 28 of his affidavit for bail, alleging that the police had planted that photo of that second Swaziland ID in his phone because that was his reason that it was planted. But then on our further investigation, together with the Eswatini authorities, and then Eswatini Ministry of Home Affairs confirmed to us that the ID of Mr. Matlala was issued, and that it was issued with a major procedural errors and irregularities. The Eswatini authorities confirmed that Vusimuzi Dlamini is not a citizen of Eswatini by birth, which is Kurt Matlala. They further confirmed that the personal identification number was created on the 12th of February 2024 and used to issue the identity book before the birth date was registered. The birth record was only registered 8 days later, which is the 20th of February. The investigation team in Swaziland, which is in constant communication with us, had already arrested a person and charged the Home Affairs official who facilitated that issuance of fraudulent ID, Swaziland ID, to Mr. Matlala. And is attached, confirmation to revenue authorities attached as my SDK 39.
We are coming to the end now, and this could possibly, your response could possibly also be part of your conclusion, General Khumalo. But just to address what you describe as a retaliation against members of the PKTT, in paragraph 277, you seem to suggest that there were a number of, or rather in your statement, you suggest that there were a number of matters or cases that were open against members of the PKTT, which you say are not coincidental, and you say that they were orchestrated in direct response to the work that the PKTT have been doing in counterintelligence. Do you just briefly want to take us through the matters and why you have arrived at that conclusion.
In conclusion, Honorable Chair, honorable members, with regard to that subject, I'll link it with the coincidence of the 6th of December, when then the IDEC investigation started against myself and my management, which culminated to our arrest then on the 26th of June on a new case. And then after that, we had picked up that there are a number of cases that were opened, like counter charges that were opened, most of them during the busiest month of 2024, which is December, against, I won't say really PKTT, I will say GCI Ops, because I've clarified the issue of PKTT coming in to assist and withdrawing. So all these cases are opened against the members of GCI Ops to counteract any investigation that they are carrying on.
Just to clarify, I mean, we've heard evidence on IDEC that has opened matters, or rather, you can see that from your statement that you specifically refer to. But in so far as IPIT is concerned, you've taken us through a WhatsApp correspondence between Mr. Matlala and Mr. Mokhotsi. But there was, in fact, no case that IPIT pursued against members of the PKTT or the counterintelligence operation members. Was there a case that IPIT also pursued against the members?
According to our information, there was an attempt through IPIT, as we have seen on the WhatsApp chats, and also there was information that there is a case that is supposed to be opened around Orlando. But then, of course, if you have a case opened against you, you will confirm the day the investigating officer approaches you, then you confirm that indeed there was a case that was opened and it's investigated against me. And then the other cases that were opened in December again by the Katisom Life's family members, 3 of them. And then in January, Captain Makhotle, who is the ballistic expert, who failed to provide the report I briefed the committee on, also opened then a case of kidnapping against the team, when the team then approached him to accompany them to his office to seize the hard drive as part of the investigation. And then during April 2025, also the PCI Eastern Cape was requested then to investigate another charge or case of Corruption Act against PKTT members, which according to us is still forming part of this witch hunt and retaliation. Thank you, Chair.
And then, Chair, I just wanted to find out before we close off, or as we're closing off, whether General Khumalo has any closing remarks that he'd like to make before the members have an opportunity to question him. But if he doesn't have any closing remarks, Chair, that would be the end of my evidence.
You will give those remarks tomorrow after the last question. Can we?
Sorry, Chair, it's not my evidence, I'm reminded, but my questioning, leading of evidence.
Yeah, Can we give Advocate Mkhwaizi a round of applause? Now, this is very brilliant. Can we do it again, honorable members?
Is the witness also allowed to clap, Chair?
Yeah, he is. I mean, let me tell you why we must do this. The women of South Africa in the generations of our forebears have never had this opportunity and have never dreamt about it. In fact, it was inconceivable. There was not even a television station for African people. So since we started with these proceedings, there are many South Africans who are following us on our parliamentary channel and other TV channels that we have in the country. And the communication section of Parliament has informed us that the viewership of the channel has increased tremendously since we started. So it means that there is something good that we are doing, but to give young African females coming from disadvantaged and marginalized, the hinterland of this country, an opportunity to show their abilities like the way Advocate Mkhwaizi has done. It's a tremendous achievement. And we want to thank you so much. You must never drop your head. If there comes a moment that you make a mistake, that mistake must not disable your movement forward. Rise and dust yourself and focus all the time. We want to thank you so much. Advocate Bongi Mkhize, is there anything you want to say?
There's nothing I'd like to say, Chair. I think, well done, Maria.
Thank you so much. Honorable members, this is, and thank you so much for your testimony, General Khumalo. We want to thank you so much for your cooperation and for having availed yourself to this engagements. What we are going to do, honorable members, and I just want to indulge with you, General Khumalo. Your request has been made before us that at some particular time you will want to be released. I'm just going to request you to bear with us to stretch you for the next 2 to 3 hours. We should be done. We are going to do this, honorable members. Number one, during the interaction, you have asked so many clarity-seeking questions. I'm not going to allow any one of you to ask clarity-seeking question or a follow-up when we have allocated a speaker chance to ask the general questions. Number two, I have reduced the time of full-time members from 30 minutes to 25 minutes. So when we come back from break, we are going to take 8 speakers. 15 minutes for the alternate members, 25 minutes for the full member. And this is how that time is allocated. Honorable Ngola, because you are starting, you must listen to me. And let me warn Honorable Nomvalo from distracting you. What is going to happen when we come back at 20 minutes past 5? It will be Honorable Ngola and Honorable Sokanyile. Their time runs until 20 minutes before 6. And then they will be followed by Honorable, yourself, Nomvalo, and Shongwe, until 20 minutes past 7. And then the Democratic Alliance, Honorable Cameron and Honorable Thope, until 8 o'clock. The last 2 speakers is 30 minutes. At 8:30, the committee adjourns. So it's going to be Honorable Matthys and Honorable James. So we would have allocated all the alternates time to speak tonight. Tomorrow, when we come here, we will then take Bangazita, we will take the EFF Mukhalaka. We take Bangazita, 25 minutes each. We take Honorable Sols. Then we come back, we take 50 minutes for Honorable Sangoni and Honorable Ntuli, 25 minutes each for Honorable Skosana and whoever will be here, Honorable Breitenbach from the DA. And then we will be done. If we still have time remaining before 1 o'clock or whatever time we decide to adjourn, we will check with the legal team if they have observations or some few questions to make before we close. So I'm going to request your cooperation, General Khumalo. Once we start and the clock strikes, once it's 7 o'clock, it means the 40 minutes for the ANC would have come to an end, you stop speaking. And when it's 20 minutes to 8, you stop speaking. The time of the MKP would have ended. I'm just saying the two of us, you and I, let's manage that time. Yeah. Honorable Sols.
Chair, thank you so much. Chair, I just want to register my my concern and my vehement disagreement. The approach we used from the start of our committee was that we will spend enough time probing and interrogating. And I must say I was pleased with how we started off, where you would give us an allocated time and the response of the witness doesn't impact on our time. But then of course you decided to change it and we submitted to that and we continued, but the time I felt was very short, but we obliged. Yesterday, there was emphasis that we would want to ensure that we exhaust, we focus on probing and ensuring that we do what we can, we work as hard as we can to get to the truth. Today, the time is cut again from 30 to 25. And General Khumalo is not just any witness. General Khumalo is a prime witness. He's not a secondary witness. It's a key witness. And for us to be cut, it's as if we're now saying we're more focused on finishing, and we've allocated 2 days. So I'd like to register that and perhaps ask that maybe as a committee we should talk about that and see what the general feeling is. But I disagree vehemently. Thank you, Chair.
No, I take the point, Honorable Sols. The decision that I make within the confines of the expectations of members. It's not me. The members are the ones who said tomorrow they will wish to conclude business around 1 o'clock. Unless if members say we can start at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, I don't have a problem. I allocate you the time you have. And the time that we have is that one that I have said I'm going to allocate. But at the end of today's proceedings, if members, because tomorrow, the reason why I'm saying this is because tomorrow we're starting at 9 o'clock. So if members want to increase the time, you can say, no, let's start at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's something that you can caucus during the break. You will come and give me a feedback what time you want to start tomorrow. Yeah, but I think the time that I allocated is sufficient given the time that you have tonight and tomorrow.
Yes, Chair, I just want to state for the record, I was not part of those members. I was not part of the consultation
Yeah.
of 1 PM. So
Okay.
please exclude me from that decision.
Yeah, that is why I'm saying that when I say you, I include you that during the break you can talk amongst yourselves as members of the committee and advise the chairperson. I'm your chairperson. When I speak every time here, I want to speak your views. Yeah. Is that okay? So if you can caucus between yourselves and agree, when we resume, if there is going to be increase on the time allocated, it means the number of speakers for tonight is also going to reduce. And you shall have also worked out what time we must start tomorrow. Thank you so much. I'm amenable to your inputs, members. Can we break and come back at 20 past 5? Yeah. Yeah. It was eaten by yourselves. Yeah.